What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Room, joined by Tyler Stafford on this Mother's Day, the end of this Mother's Day. So before we get into important stuff, happy Mother's Day, Mom. Happy Mother's Day, Maria, your first Mother's Day, my sister. Tyler, what did the kids get for Alicia, and how pampered was she on Mother's Day today?
We had a great day. We went the other day. I took the kids, which was really the real Mother's Day present. Is like on Thursday. I took all of the kids Mother's Day shopping, and we got like a Lush does these big bath bomb boxes. So I got those. We picked out some body spray. So just walking around the Baybrook Mall as you do with a double wide stroller and another kid running around everywhere, and that was the real present. But this morning we did that. I had a reservation at Maggiano's, also at the
Ooh.
Baybrook Mall. We did that. They had like a Mother's Day menu, so it was like a four-course meal. Uh, we made it to appetizers before we asked them to just box up the rest of our stuff and get home because the kids were going crazy. We ran through their nap. It was much later in the day and it was quite busy. So we had a lovely reheated Maggiano's dinner tonight. And then did a bunch of just housework because we've got Camden's first birthday this weekend. So when you got three kids, five and under, there's not a lot of pampering and relaxation to be done. But I think it was good. Happy Mother's Day, Alicia.
Is making it to appetizers, is that progress, or is that a regression?
I mean, I would have liked to had like pasta at a normal temperature,
Hmm.
but listen, we our reservation was at 1. We got there at like 12:30. They let us in at like 1:10 and it was like 2:15 and we were like, "All right, we got to get out of here. These kids are going crazy." I picked it specifically cuz there's that lawn right outside Maggiano.
Hmm.
So I was just intermittently taking kids out to run on the lawn while food was coming or not coming. I was like, "You just sit here. I'll go do this." But yeah, we're not quite at the let's go dine for a couple of hours age in our family just yet, but it was a good effort, I think.
Yeah, it'll get there. It'll get there. Maybe
Hmm.
maybe next Mother's Day. You're at a point where
Yeah.
everyone can dine. The Astros celebrated Mother's Day by getting shut out by the
Hmm.
Cincinnati Reds in Great American Ballpark. They lost two of three for a team that needs to win series. That was not a positive development for a team that has the Seattle Mariners coming in for four games. At home this week, that was also not a great development because they are not going into this series with any semblance of momentum. You would thought on Friday that maybe, Friday was probably, I wouldn't say their best win of the season, but certainly their most complete. Certainly, that's probably the win you felt the best about after this season, after a game this season. Obviously, you haven't had many to choose from, but I mean, if Mike Burrows goes out there and does what we've known has been in there, but it's been unlucky, and he turned some of his luck around, goes seven shutout innings. The offense erupts. Jordan hits a massive homer. Christian Vasquez, Zach Cole. It was they cleared the benches, well, in a good way. They cleared the bench, got everybody, and that was like you kind of thought. I think I even texted you, Tyler, plan the parade,
Hmm.
and now the parade is canceled again.
Yeah, yeah. The parade was on for a bit, and then look, you knew the Sunday game with a bullpen game was going to be tough. The Arrighetti game was tough just because you had Cam dropping just a pop up in right field for some reason. I mean, just dropped it. There really wasn't much going on there, and they score 3 runs in that inning. Arrighetti looked good, but when you score 1 run, it's going to be tough anyway. And then yeah, coming into today, that you try to win every game, but you didn't think that you were going to win this one. You were throwing Kaiwei Tang and Cody Bolton and whoever Jaden Murray is. I forget every time. No offense to that man, but congrats on one clean inning today. But yeah, I mean, just a rough. Yeah, you score 10 in the first game, you score 1 over the next 18 innings. That happens sometimes, even when you have a good offense. But yeah, not encouraging. Weird to see Jordan go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. As we're doing this, I'm going to try to find how many times that's happened in his life. I don't know if you have that off the top of your head, but
I
I'm gonna
I
find that in a
think
second.
I think today was the fourth time he's ever done that. 4 strikeouts in a game. And it was against the lefty too. Andrew Abbott had 3 of them. The starter was a left-handed. And usually, I mean, Jordan's so platoon neutral. I mean, he sometimes hits left-handed pitching better than right-handed pitching, but
Yeah,
he's mortal.
I found it. So three times in 2021 he had 4 strikeouts,
And
2
then
0 for 4s, 1 0 for 5, and then 1 today. So
yeah,
doesn't happen often,
no.
but you know he's still hitting like 320. He's a pretty good hitter. It'll be all right.
I would push back on one thing you said. You said when you have a good offense, I would push back because right now, I don't think this is a great offense. And it's more to do with the injuries. And you are seeing now what it's like to play without Carlos Correa, what it's like to play without Yainer Diaz. And I know people are going to point to his OPS and his on base percentage and laugh at me, but like, in the 40 plate appearances before he got hurt, it was getting better. He had like a 760 OPS in those plate appearances. He was hitting the ball in the air on a line more. He was still chasing, but not. He was picking better pitches to swing at. But the point of the story is like Yainer Diaz is a better player than either Cesar Salazar or Christian Vasquez, especially offensively. Like he's just a bigger threat. Like pitchers have to make pitches to get him out. Where with those other two guys, it's not necessarily always the case. So you're starting to see the ill effects of playing without those two guys. And I think kind of these last 10 games have crystallized that. And look, they've been around for some of those games. Obviously, they both got hurt during the Dodgers series, which was, 5 or 6 games ago. But so in the last 10 games, the Astros are 5-5. They have a 3.98 team ERA in the past 10 games, which Tyler, like we talked about a couple pods ago, like they don't have to be an above average offense, like or a pitching staff, excuse me. Like they just got to be not terrible. And 3.98 as a team in a 10-game stretch or even in a full season, like you'll take that in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And like we talked about, you're seeing, I think you've got your 3 starters in whom you can feel pretty comfortable in Lambert, Arrighetti, and Burrows. Arrighetti and Burrows pitched this weekend, and the results were very good. Obviously, they didn't win the Saturday game, but Spencer pitched fine, and Mike Burrows was good. So in that 10-game stretch, they have a 3.98 team ERA. They have scored 39 runs as a team in those 10 games. That's already that's 3.9 runs per game, which on the surface is not terrible. They scored 21 of those 39 runs in 2 games. The second doubleheader game in Baltimore, and then Friday's game in Cincinnati. So my quick math says 39 minus 21 is
18.
I think that's what they taught me at LSU. Yeah, 18.
Mm-hmm.
So they have scored 18 runs in the other 8 games. That's 2 runs a game. That dog won't hunt. And
yeah,
I think, certainly Jose Altuve has not looked like Jose Altuve. This has coincided with one of Jordan Alvarez's only or his only funk of the season. He has 12 hits in his past 15 games, and only 2 of them have been for extra bases. So he's hitting a lot of singles, but the power just has not been what it was earlier in the year, or just for this stretch. So when you don't have Correa, when you don't have Yainer Diaz, when you've got Jose Altuve who's not looking great, and you've got Jordan who's just he's in a funk. Like a
you
funk
don't have
for him
Peña
is still
either.
good. You don't have Peña either. Right now, this is not a good lineup. It's just not a major league quality lineup right now.
That's fair. Counterpoint, in those 10 games, again, I know that a lot of them came in, 2 games. In those 10 games since April 30th, The Astros are 8th in baseball in WRC plus at 107, just ahead of the Dodgers. So I mean, I agree. Like, it's not the best offense of all time, but even in this like lower stretch, the offense is not the reason that they're struggling for the season. Like,
No,
yeah,
for the
they're
season, no.
missing. But I mean, even in these 10-game stretches, like, you're scoring 4 runs a game and you're giving up 4 runs a game. My math says you should win about half of those, and that's about what they've done, going 5-5 in those 10 games. So yeah, that makes sense. You'd love to see some more consistency. Obviously, you'd love to see Altuve break out of this slump. I mean, any game. It's always funny when they put those stats up. I'm sure you've seen those, but what it's like when this guy homers in a game, the Astros are 22-4 for the year, and it's like, well, yeah, man. Anytime anyone homers, you're gonna do, like, that's true of of any game, and it's the same with Jordan. If he hits 2 home runs over this last stretch, they probably win both of those games because they've automatically scored more, and that just happens. You run through some flukes and things like that, but I mean, he's still just he's mashing everything. Like, he had a double down the line, either Friday or Saturday. That was like, again, 110 off the bat, and he hit it so hard to right field that he almost didn't get a double. He hit it so hard. Those things happen. The pitching has been a little bit better. There are signs of life, certainly, but you got to start winning these. Like, you're just gonna have to start winning games, and it does seem like it's coming together. What's our Peña update? What's the timeline there? What are we thinking?
So I wasn't in Cincinnati. So I think, if I'm reading from afar correctly, he ran the bases in Cincinnati, which was kind of his final hurdle. I
You run it
would
with the kids on Sunday? Just get out there
perhaps,
with them.
perhaps. Um, the minor leagues have a universal off day on Monday, so he's not starting a minor league rehab assignment on Monday. I would imagine he'll be playing games at some affiliate on Tuesday, and if not Tuesday, then Wednesday. And then, if they can get him Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in games, maybe he's back at some point for this Rangers series this weekend. I think they'd like to have him back on this homestand. I'm not going to say that that's official or that's something that that they've planned on, but I think there is enough time to where they could get him enough games, you know, early in the week that he could maybe be back by the second Rangers game Saturday, and then he's good from there. So reinforcements are on the way, which helps. But yeah, right now, like, I think the Red Series, maybe even the last 2 games of the Red Series, and the Dodgers, to be honest with you, like, it showed like they're playing just extremely undermanned. When former Aggie Braden Shoemake is still getting substantial run. When
Hey,
Cesar
that's first round pick Braden Shoemake to you. Thank you.
when Nick Allen's playing, yeah, they need some guys back, and Pena will be among the first to get back. Tyler, do you think people watching on YouTube have made it 14 minutes in and wondering why I copied your attire today?
Yeah, we look really cool. I
Hmm.
like that we're matching. We should do that more. I think we should just match every time.
Well, the good thing is we will be matching a lot. We'll be matching at least once a week because we're very excited to introduce a new sponsor to Crush City Territory, and that's Royal Retros. Tyler, I don't know about you, but like, I'm not a I love like old uniforms. I like retro
Mhm.
stuff. I like retro gear. I'm not a big purchaser, or like, I don't own like sports jerseys. It's just one thing I never really got into. But like, looking at royalretros.com, like, just looking through their stuff, like, I'm inclined to like change that habit. And especially like, I mean, you mentioned it before we got on, the Houston Aeros stuff they have is incredible. And it's so cool too, because you can like, they break it down by state and then by city. Like, if you've got like an obscure random team that you thought about from way back when that played in Boise, Idaho, they've got it for you. We are repping Colt 45 stuff right now. Obviously, the Colt 45s were the original nickname of the Astros before they changed to the Astros. You can't see it on YouTube, but we do have shirts too. I'll try to
With the
link
original
that.
logo too, the one that
Yep.
wasn't nerfed by MLB when they tried to do the throwback jerseys.
Yeah, but I was very I had not looked at their site much before they wanted to start working with us, and I'm happy I have because like I'm very interested and I want to start buying some of this stuff.
Yeah, I really like the hats. They're like
Yeah.
low profile hats. This has been my go to for the past couple days since it came in. Uh, and I might have to get this Arrows jersey. That's such a good logo, man. The with the teeth painted on the side there. Somebody's going to know what plane that is, and I'm going to be embarrassed that I didn't know the correct name for the plane. Apologies to my people out there for that. But I love that old logo. I used to go to Arrows games growing up as a kid. I think that jersey looks awesome. And the shirts are super comfortable too.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes when you buy shirts online, they're either like super tight or they just feel weird. This is a great shirt. I like this one quite a bit.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like they have jerseys. They do have jerseys. When Josh gets back on, like Royal Retros likes Josh a lot more than us. Josh got a
Mm-hmm.
full Coat 45s jersey that he's going to wear and rub it in our face that we don't have a
Mm-hmm.
jersey. But so they have jerseys, but they've got these hats like we have. They have t-shirts. They have long sleeve shirts. They've got really kind of anything you want. So if you're watching on YouTube, we have a QR code down there that'll take you right to royalretros.com. You can, if you like the Colt 45s, they have Oilers stuff too. You can make fun of Amy Adams Strunk if you'd like, or order some Oilers stuff and make fun of that, make fun of her in that get up. There's Houston Comets stuff too. I think I saw a Houston Comets tab. They're
Ooh.
coming back.
Yeah, they are.
If you need Houston Comets things to get you revved up for Brittany Griner and the Houston Comets at
Mm-hmm.
Toyota Center, royalretros.com is your place to do that. And we're really happy to be working with them all season. So you'll see us matching a lot more going
Mm-hmm.
forward because we want to rep this gear. I love wearing this hat. Like I'll wear this hat out. Like this is not just a podcast gimmick. Like you mentioned it, like it's a comfortable hat, like it fits well, like I like it. So
Mm-hmm.
as always, we're happy to be working with Royal Retros. Now it's a great outlet, great product. So we talked a little bit earlier about um, how the series in Cincinnati went. You mentioned Sunday's kind of the game that you go in and you know you're behind the eight ball, right? You know you're at a disadvantage. And there was a decision made today that angered a lot of people. Stunning. People are angry.
That's weird.
Yeah, I can't believe it. So the Astros started Kaiwei Tang today because Burrows and Arrighetti in the first two games had done a nice job of getting them deep. They had a pretty rested bullpen, but I'm going to say in a minute why I don't think that matters much. Um, so Joe Espada, Kaiwei Tang had gotten through three scoreless innings without much of an issue. He had thrown 51 pitches to get through those three innings. He had never thrown more than 42 in a game this season. So he had already exceeded his career high by 8 pitches after the third inning. It was a scoreless game. Joe Espada sent Kaiwei Tang back out for the fourth inning. He gave up hits to the first two guys he faced, was immediately taken out of the game. AJ Blueball comes in, allows his inherited runners to score. And then, as you know, the Astros didn't score. So all that we are about to discuss should be with that backdrop that the Astros did not score a run in this game. We are going to talk this decision through, and I'm gonna maybe have some informed speculation as to why it went like this. But remember that first and foremost, the Astros did not score a run in this game. So think about what is next. Think about what's looming for the Astros after this series against the Reds. They're in a stretch of 13 games in a row. They do not have an off day. Peter Lambert is pitching on Monday, which raise your hand if you had this before the season. You feel confident in that. You feel confident that staff ace Peter Lambert is going out there on Monday against the Seattle Mariners, the defending almost American League champions, and you're going to feel good about that. You're going to feel good about him going out against George Kirby, who has historically pretty much owned the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about the next two games. Tetsuya Imai is scheduled to pitch. He is listed as the Astros starter on Tuesday, as we discussed on this podcast. It's amazing if you listen to this. I told you this would happen, that they wanted an extra day for Lambert. That would probably push Imai back to have a day. There you go. After Tetsuya Imai on Tuesday, Lance McCullers Jr. is scheduled to pitch on Wednesday. He is listed in the team's game notes today as their probable starter. Looking at some reporting that was done from the people that are in Cincinnati, it sounds like that fingernail issue is not all the way gone. It sounds like he threw and didn't feel great, but he's still listed as the probable. Okay. So keep that in mind on that you have no off days. And then on Tuesday, you have to manage with the thought that Tetsuya Imai is probably not going to get you deep into the game. And if he does, they would be head over heels excited. But nothing Tetsuya Imai has done since this season started would suggest he's going to go 7 innings for you on Tuesday. Maybe he reverses course and that happens. I'll believe it when I see it. The same thing could be said for Lance McCullers on Wednesday. And he is physically compromised with his finger being injured. Tetsuya Imai is not physically compromised. But so do you see what I'm saying? So you are now staring down the barrel of possibly having to throw impromptu bullpen games on Tuesday and Wednesday. You're going to activate Tetsuya Imai from the injured list. And very likely the person who's going down is either Logan Van Wy or Jaden Murray, which you would say, why does that matter? You're shortening your bullpen. You are activating a starter and sending a reliever down. Tetsuya Imai is not going to the bullpen. How does this affect Kai-Wei Tang? So when the Astros made the decision to start Kai-Wei Tang today, and when he got through 3 innings and had thrown 51 pitches, they knew for a fact he ain't pitching until at least Thursday. Like, he is down for the next 3 games. We cannot use him. It would be just malpractice. It'd be irresponsible to pitch him again after that length. Kai-Wei Tang is among the options that the Astros had to pitch in this game today. Kai-Wei Tang is the best option. He is the best pitcher that would have been available to pitch for prolonged stretches of today's baseball game. It is the 4th inning. Joe Espada is not going to his leverage guys in the 4th inning. He's not going to, AJ Blueball in the 4th. Well, he did end up going to him, but no. You see what I'm saying? He's not going to the circle of trust guys in the 4th inning. Mm-hmm. So what Joe, and this is purely as I'm thinking about it, speculating and managing along, Joe is probably thinking, I have my best bullet here, and I've spent him already, and I can't use him again. I can't use him again for at least the next 4 days. Let me get everything I can out of this guy. And he was pitching well. I don't know what the conversations were like between Tang and Josh Miller and Joe Espada in the dugout after the 3rd and going into the 4th about how did he feel? Did he feel fatigued? Did he feel sore? Like, I don't know. But at some point, if they're going to stretch this guy out as a starter, it's got to be done. Like, he can't just go to sleep one night, wake up tomorrow morning and throw 100 pitches. Like, it's got to happen naturally. And I think today was a day that they were going to choose to do that. It obviously backfired in spectacular fashion. I'll be honest with you. I don't necessarily agree with the decision. I think he had served his purpose as the opener, right? He had gotten you through 3 innings. Game was scoreless. Cody Bolton's here for this purpose, to give you bulk behind Tang. But again, Cody Bolton's not as good of a pitcher as Kai-Wei Tang. Joe Espada wanted to leave his best pitcher, the best pitcher he had at his disposal, out until he couldn't go anymore. The one thing I will quibble with Joe's management of this, he did not have anyone up in the bullpen when that inning began. If I'm Joe Espada and I'm sending a guy out that has already exceeded his season high in pitches, and not by 1 or 2 pitches, by 8 pitches. And I'm sending him out for the fourth inning. And I believe Cincinnati was kind of around the middle of their order in a scoreless game. And you have Cody Bolton ready to take on the bulk of this game. I'm going batter to batter with him. I'm going, first guy gets it. All right, get blue ball in here. Let's see if we can get out of it, keep it to a run or so, and then let Cody Bolton start a clean inning. Instead, it went single double. AJ Blueball comes into a much dicier situation, second and third, nobody out. It doesn't go well. We know how it ends. I will reiterate again: the Astros did not score a run this afternoon in Cincinnati. That means a lot more than managerial pitching decisions. But Tyler, as we've talked about, when you're in the last year of your deal as a manager, when you're managing a team that's 9 games below 500, I know they're very injured, but your record is what your record is. This stuff tends to look worse. And I think today's an example of that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that not having somebody up is an issue, unless your thought is, I just want to get him through this inning and then go to Cody Bolton the next inning. I mean, obviously, we don't know what the conversations were about what his pitch limits were today or what he could go to. Obviously, he'd thrown more than he had in any other game, but they've been talking about wanting to stretch him out, and 8 pitches above your max, if you're trying to stretch out to 100, like you said, you're going to have to take some jumps at some point. And even looking at his stuff in that fourth inning, he's still sitting 93 plus with his fastball, which is what he averaged. It's not like he had diminished stuff in those at bats in the fourth inning. And like you said, look, Imai is coming up. You got Lance McCullers' finger falling off. Now's not the time to get cuticle. You gotta just use them. And look, every manager decision it boils down to, did it work or not? If he goes out and throws a 9-pitch, 3 up, 3 down inning, Joe is a genius. He sent his guy back out there. He trusted his guy. Now they're able to keep rolling, and it just didn't work. The guy didn't get outs. And if you had the conversation, yeah, I'm ready, you've looked good so far, okay, let's try it, then what else do you want to do? Again, you're throwing a bullpen game. It's May. Like, this isn't even the end of the season that you've run out of arms at this point. This is like the 4th or 5th bullpen game that the Astros have had to throw because they don't have enough starting pitching. You're just going to run into these at some point. And again, they didn't score a run, so none of it matters really anyway. I don't have as big of an issue with it. I mean, again, the results are what they are, and it's frustrating to watch them lose more often than they don't. So I get why you would be frustrated watching that. But the reason your team lost is they didn't score anything and you don't have real starting pitching for a game in May. That's why the team lost, not because Kaiwei Tang couldn't make it through the 4th inning today.
I'll even bring you back to 2 weeks ago in Boston. Like, AJ Blueball's out there throwing 59 pitches across 4 1/3 inning. And you know what? He shoved. And so because he got good results, it was a great managerial decision. It was Joe Espada's got faith in this guy, and he's just going to keep sending him out there, and he's telling him all the right things between innings, and he really has the pulse, AJ Blueball's pulse of, his outing. And today, apparently, he just didn't have the pulse of Kaiwei Tang's outing. When, you could have made the exact same arguments about AJ Blueball going back out as many times as he did at Fenway a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but it worked then. So
it
then
worked.
That's my point.
Is that
yeah, if it works, great. You're a genius. If not,
yeah.
I mean, not to open an old wound here, but it's the same thing of the 2019 Game 7 choice of why didn't you bring in Cole? It's like, well, if it worked, then you're a genius, and nobody thinks that AJ Hinch is a bad manager. It's just sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and we have no idea what those conversations look like internally. And again, it's not like Tang went out there and he was throwing 91 and you could just tell, something is wrong. He was throwing 95 or 93.5 is why I said that. That's just he got hit some, and that happens. But yeah, I mean the bigger issue is scoring 1 run across 18 innings. That's not what you want to do, which is crazy because you would think, as we talked about, Cincinnati has what do you call it, the Great American Bandbox up there. Jordan doesn't hit any home runs. Jordan went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts today. Are you mad at Joe for putting him in the lineup? No, that was your best option. It just didn't work.
There's probably somebody.
There are people mad about where he's.
There's
in
people
the lineup,
mad he's hitting
sure.
second. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, it's why when I just at least when I hope Tyler and I, as we've discussed these managerial decisions through the season, like I hope you guys have kind of started to understand, like we mainly go through like the logic of these things and the process to get to because the result at the end of the day is out of the manager's control. Like the manager is not out there hitting, pitching, executing anything on the field. In my eyes, if there is sound logic and sound process to arrive at a decision, then the outcome is kind of, I don't want to say secondary because obviously the outcome's all that matters, but like if you've used sound logic to get there, like I understand where you're coming from. I think it was sound logic to send him out for the 4th inning, given how he had looked in the game and given what is looming with how much you are going to have to work your bullpen probably the next 4 or 5 games. And you will not have Kai Tang in that bullpen. And you also probably won't have another reliever either because, as we said, Tetsuya Imai is going to get activated. So I get wanting to squeeze every last drop out of what you had from Kai Tang today. Where the only thing I would second guess is not – and Joe's done this. Joe is – one of Joe's things is Joe warms guys up more than most managers I've covered, just in terms of like at the first sign of trouble. Joe is the king of having a guy getting hot before an inning starts. Like the guy gets on base and Joe's got somebody tossing in the bullpen. Like the fact that there was no one warming at the start of the inning to me was a little bit, that was a little weird to me, but it's a difference of one batter. Like AJ Blueball would have come in after the first batter instead of the second batter. Now, granted, it was second, third, no out as opposed to just runner and first, no out. But that was the only quibble I had. But it was a big topic of discussion on the social media streets. But we know how well those things go. We'll come back and talk about the Mariners right after this message from our friends at BlueChew.
Let's talk love life, FT family. I know it's an important part of everyone's life, but if you need help or if you don't, BlueChew Gold is changing the game and it is turbocharging your love life.
That was beautifully delivered. The new arousal-boosting formula combines passion and performance into one tablet that dissolves under your tongue for super fast onset. No more waiting for a pill to kick in. No more moments ruined by performance anxiety. Just the results you want when you want them. Most ED meds only focus on blood flow, but BlueChew Gold goes further by combining 2 ingredients for blood flow with 2 more for mental arousal and connection. So you're not just physically ready, you're actually in the mood. And we've got a special deal for our listeners right now. When you buy 2 months of BlueChew Gold, you get the 3rd for free with promo code FOUL. That's promo code FOUL. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the podcast.
If you need something to feel hopeful after our last discussion, the Astros are only 3 games back of the Mariners in the American League West. They're 5.5 back of the first place Athletics, but are only 3 games back of the Mariners. So a sweep this week. They vault over the Seattle Mariners and the parade's back on. But not ideal pitching matchups lined up. We discussed earlier, obviously, that Tetsuya Imai will pitch on Tuesday. It'll go Peter Lambert against George Kirby on Monday. That'll be a lot of strikes from George Kirby. He walks the fewest batters of any starting pitcher in baseball. So please do not yell at me when the Astros swing a lot at a lot of early count pitches because that's all he does is throw strikes. Tetsuya Imai will face Brian Wu on Tuesday. Lance McCullers, it says TBA in the Astros game notes right now, but Ryan Divish of the Seattle Times wrote today, friend of the pod, Ryan Divish, wrote that Bryce Miller, did he go to A&M?
He sure did.
Oh, he did? Okay. Yeah. Former Aggie Bryce Miller will pitch on Wednesday against Lance McCullers, and then Mike Burrows will pitch against Luis Castillo on Thursday. Luis Castillo has a 7 ERA. Jesus. I did not realize he had been that bad. It'll be Bryce Miller. I don't know if it's his first start of the season. He had an injury thing leading into the season, but he always seems to pitch well here. Always seems to pitch well against the Astros. I don't know if it's being back in Texas, being back at home. I don't know, but he always seems to pitch well against the Astros. This will be his season debut because he had some arm issues coming into the season. They built him up slowly, but look, you can't get swept. You'd be veering into it's over territory if you lose 4 games to the Mariners and you go 0-8 against the Seattle Mariners within the first month and a half of the season. You would very much be veering into. We would be having the conversation that Tyler wanted to have last week. We would be having that this coming week if that happens. You can't get swept. The Mariners are not the offensive juggernaut that they were at times last year. They're a bottom half of the league offense in just about every metric. Julio is off to a slow start, but that's nothing new for Julio. Cal Raleigh, stunningly, is not on a 60-homer pace. Josh Naylor has not been great. So the guys that they need to hit have not hit. If you've watched this team for any length of time, they can really pitch. The guys that we talked about, Wu is their best pitcher. I know that can be a controversial topic, but I think he's the best pitcher they have. George Kirby is a command artist. Bryce Miller throws gas, and Luis Castillo, even though he's a 7 ERA, he's a veteran, just sinker ball guy, can get up to 98. So look, it's a team that's led by its pitching. This is an Astros offense that is coming off scoring 1 run in 18 innings. They're very undermanned, but they got to find a way to salvage at least 2 of these games.
Yeah, they're going to have to find that. I agree getting swept would be bad. I want to be on the record as agreeing with Chandler on that one. Don't do that. And then you got the Rangers coming in right after. But, you got to have the guys that you're paying $16 and $18 million to pitch this year pitch well. Like Imai and Lance, with whatever's going on with his hand, they both have to pitch well. And if the truth is like, regardless of this series, if those guys are not pitching well for you this season, you don't really have a chance. That's 40% of your rotation. And if you can't trust them to go out every 5th day and get outs, it's going to be pretty tough, as we have seen, for them to compete this season. They're going to have to find a way. Jordan's going to need to get some power back. Altuve is going to need to break out of this slump, which we've said, and I think it was even last year we talked about when he was in his slump. I think, was it Baltimore? I can't remember what series he was playing, but it was like, well, he might just go 10 for 12 this weekend, and basically did. Like he's capable of doing that in any series. I mean, he can have 13 hits this week against the Mariners and the Rangers, and you look up and he's hitting 300, and you're like, what slump? They need that to happen. They need him to carry the lineup, and they need the bullpen to carry a bunch of innings, because that's about to happen. They've got to squeeze 2 out of this. There's not a nicer way to put that. They've got to find a way to win 2 of these games. You're at home. You got to do it.
Especially when, if the Rangers stay in rotation and if no one gets hurt in the next 5 days, they're lined up to throw Leiter, DeGrom, and Eovaldi this weekend at Dyken Park. DeGrom's very good, in case you haven't noticed. And Nate Eovaldi is look, I love watching that guy pitch. Like he is a gamer, man. That is a bulldog gamer. The Astros have had long-standing interest in Nathan Eovaldi. Like, and it dates back to before he was with the Rangers. They have had substantial interest in Nathan Eovaldi. It's never worked out, but he's
Alvin High School legend.
Yep. certainly the best player to ever come out of Alvin, Texas, right?
I think so, for sure.
Yeah. Best pitcher, you think? At least best
Mhm.
pitcher.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Sure.
Easily.
We that's why they pay us. They pay us the big bucks to have those sort of debates. I don't expect any like substantial guys back from the IL against the Mariners. Again, I don't think they would panic and not send Peña on a rehab assignment. That'd be the only way I think they could get anybody back. So you'll be seeing, for the most part, the lineups you saw in Cincinnati, which, hey, they scored 10 runs one day.
Just do that every game.
Sure.
It's not that hard.
Sure. They can do that. We'll see if they can do that. And if they do, or if they don't, we'll talk about it here on Crush City Territory. But until then, you can follow me on X at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. Please rate and review us on Apple and Spotify. Please like the YouTube video and subscribe to the YouTube channel so you get notified anytime we post a new podcast. We'll be back maybe Wednesday. There's a big pitching performance happening on Tuesday that I think a lot of people will be talking about. So we cater to clicks. So perhaps on Wednesday, we'll fire up the old recording machine and talk about what Tetsuya Imai does. But until then, you can always download, always listen. Thank you guys, and we will talk to you soon.
I'm on the Cowway to Tang. Bye.